A mum and dad have been left completely stunned after they were arrested for comments and emails they made about their daughter's school.
Rosalind Levine and Maxie Allen were confronted by 6 police officers at their home before they were taken away, locked in a cell for 8 hours, accused of sending malicious messages. Police have dropped the case, and we're going to speak to Maxie and Rosalind in just a moment.
And Rosalind and Maxie join us now from Hertfordshire. Good morning. We've just been watching the pictures of you being led away, all those police officers outside your door. But when the door knocks and you open the door and you see 6 police officers, what was the first thought which went through your mind? What did you think was going on?
Honestly, my first thought was that my daughter was dead and that they'd come to tell me. I couldn't think of any other reason why there would be 6 officers at my door. I didn't connect it at all to the school, only that something terrible had happened to my daughter and they were here to break the news to me.
And this is, you know, I mean, I said earlier, if police officers turned up at my door, of course, as a parent, your first fear is something has happened to your child. But you have a particular concern, don't you, Rosalind, because your lovely daughter actually she suffers epilepsy, she's neurodivergent, she's only 9 years old. She does have a serious medical condition. So, you know, you're probably on alert quite a lot of the time.
And that's exactly why I thought something had happened. With epilepsy, sadly, there's always a chance of dying during a seizure. And she has had extended seizures that have lasted 20 minutes. One has lasted 40 minutes. So in my mind, at school, she'd had a seizure and they had come to break the news.
Oh, my goodness.
Goodness me. And Maxie, what was the tone of the police officers when you had the first conversation? Were they understanding? Were they apologetic? Or were they aggressive? Were they accusatory?
They weren't accusatory. They were perfectly businesslike. I don't think they had any previous knowledge of the case. I think it was just as much a mystery to them as it was to us. And that became apparent pretty much immediately. So we just went quiet and did what we were told. I mean, I've no complaint against the 6 officers who came. They were just doing what someone had asked them to do.
Although you were locked up for 8 hours, or you were in the cells for 8 hours. I mean, it's quite a long time, 8 hours, to find out that there's nothing going on.
Well, it's a long time as well when you've got your watch taken away from you, obviously you don't have your phone. There's not even a clock in the cell. So I mean, there was a window, but it was quite high up with bars on it. I couldn't see if it was daytime or nighttime. I had absolutely no idea what time of day it was, how long I'd been in there. Eventually, when I got to make the first phone call, I didn't even know what time of day it was.
Yeah, we're there for 12 hours altogether at the custody suite. And when we were finally interviewed by the detective, who had no previous knowledge of the case, he presented us with no evidence. He had no examples of any communications. He had no examples or facts about things we were meant to have done. And I think he was as much in the dark as we were, or the original officers were.
Can I just go back to the beginning? Because apparently the row started after you, Maxie, complained about the recruitment process for a new head teacher. Then the chair of governors wrote to the parent body about inflammatory and defamatory comments on social media and warned the school would take action against anyone who caused disharmony. You get the visit on your doorstep. Well, because I think people watching will instinctively feel this is a complete overreaction by the police. It just feels absolutely disproportionate. Is there, honestly, hand on heart, anything that you can think that the school might have had any reason to think should involve police action? Because I think everybody watching will be scratching their heads. There are burglaries going on, there are serious crimes going on. Hertfordshire presumably is not entirely crime-free. It's not as if police are sitting around twiddling their thumbs thinking, what can we go and do? So why do you think they came to your door?
Well, we don't know, and we've racked our brains and we can't think of what that thing could be, and we weren't told when we were interviewed. So we can only speculate that at some point between the school getting in touch with the police and the police deciding to launch that operation, that something very strange happened.
Can I put to you, because we spoke to Cowley Hill Primary School yesterday, and they gave us this statement. They said, we sought advice from the police following a high volume of direct correspondence and public social media posts from 2 parents, as this was becoming upsetting for staff, parents and governors. We're always happy for parents to raise concerns, but we do ask they do this in a suitable way and in line with the school's published complaints procedure. In the conversations you had with the school, did the school explain to you what it was about the way you were acting, which was, in their words, unsuitable? Did they tell you what they didn't like about what you were doing?
Well, it began when they wrote to us to complain about the WhatsApp messages, although they didn't quote them or provide any examples or evidence that they existed. And then that led to us being banned from the school, which had very serious implications for our daughter, who, as mentioned, has epilepsy. She couldn't have a normal school experience because we couldn't go onto the school grounds. So we tried to overturn that ban, and we complained about the school acquiring our private messages without our knowledge or consent.
But did they ban you?
I mean, obviously, I'm familiar with that.
To be banned, Maxi, it's quite a big thing for a head teacher to ban parents from coming onto the school site. Did they explain to you why you were being banned? It couldn't simply be because you sent a WhatsApp message, could it?
It simply was. It was, I mean, if you've seen the banning letter, it quoted WhatsApp messages. We said to them, we're not violent, we're not aggressive people. Those are the reasons that parents would normally be banned, or if you're coming onto the school grounds drunk. And we weren't. And they responded to us and said, we know you're not violent and not aggressive, but we have to keep the school community safe from our WhatsApps.
It felt to us like we were banned for PR reasons, essentially.
It's absolutely
but
jaw-dropping.
The ban had very serious implications.
Of course it did.
And the thing is, then we did go through the complaints process, so I'm familiar with that right of reply. And after we were banned, we tried to overturn that, and we went through both stages of the school's official formal complaints policy. So we did do that. But essentially, we asked many times, what is the actual evidence of these terrible...
We asked to see them.
...communications, and they never provided them.
But if there was a complaints procedure, presumably somebody independent reviews all of this and they decided that it was OK for you to be banned. I mean, surely you were given the evidence as to why they'd done this.
Well, we were not allowed to complain about being banned. We had put in a complaint and we were told that we were not allowed to complain about that.
Right. OK.
One of the reasons we are... One of the things they mentioned when they banned us is that I had, when I was emailing about the recruitment issue, that I had copied that email into all the governors. And that was deemed a bad thing to do. And that was one of the things they mentioned, along with the WhatsApp messages.
Well, there seems to be...
One of the reasons that we were banned.
Yeah, there seems to be... Look, there's an issue about the relations with the school and obviously the ban, and, you know, that's one thing. There is, you know, which, as you've explained, is not clearly explained to you. But there is an entirely separate issue, which is why on earth the police were involved, why a school has to deal with parents who make complaints by issuing a kind of complaint to police, which requires 6 police officers to scare the living daylights out of you by turning up at the front door and then keeping you in a cell for 8 hours and 12 hours at the police station in all. Have you received any kind of apology? Do you get any kind of comfort from the fact that the Police and Crime Commissioner for Hertfordshire says this should never have been a police matter?
Yes, absolutely. Because we knew all along that the police should never have been involved. We hadn't done anything illegal. And so to have that from the Commissioner to say that, you know, what we had been saying all along, that the police shouldn't have been involved, was, you know, we felt vindicated.
When the officer closed the case, his words to Rosalind were, "I have found no evidence for these offences." So you have to wonder why they didn't have a look at that before they decided to send 6 officers, because we weren't charged. It was completely dropped. And what we don't understand is if, they had a report from the school and they needed to check that out, why couldn't they just have asked us in for a scheduled interview where we could have arranged childcare for our 2 daughters, and we wouldn't have had all our neighbours see 2 police cars and a police van turn up outside our house and then frog march us and bundle us into police cars, because they had no idea what was going on. And one of our neighbours, who's a close friend, was in tears the next day because she'd seen it all.
Of course.
And, what were we up to? Is it a terror cell or a drug den, organised crime? It was so spectacular in scale that it was...
But the worst part was the impact that it had on our 3-year-old daughter who was here. And she was home from nursery, she was ill, she needed me. And she witnessed 6 police officers coming in and taking her parents away.
Thank you, Rosalinda and Maxie, for telling us your story. I have to say, as a former Education Secretary myself, on the basis of what we've heard, totally baffling, totally bonkers, the response of both the school and the police.
Unbelievable.
Makes no sense at all. So sorry those parents went through that.
I know. Chilling, isn't it? We'll keep in touch, Maxie and Rosalind, to see what happens next. Thank you for sharing